Hi, I'm Spencer Rainey, and tonight's discussion was about picking one Christian denomination and discussing its importance to America. I've picked the Baptist Church. I was rather intrigued by the Baptist Church because not only did they become one of the more prominent principal Protestant churches in South and Western United States, but they also separated, I think, in a different way than some of the other denominations. So the Baptist Church, when they separated, their main focus was a disagreement on baptism. So originally, with the churches, most infants were baptized. It was just automatically assumed if your parents were Christian, then you would be baptized as a baby. The Baptists thought that maybe that wasn't actually proper, that baptism should be a person's commitment to Christ, that you should take in a full understanding of your baptism. And so you're not just being saved, you're agreeing to be saved. You're agreeing to take God as your the only one you're going to worship, that you're going to follow the Bible. It's a full-blown commitment. And an infant to the Baptist Church can't commit. They don't know what life is all about, and they have obviously no clue what's going on around them. And so they felt that infants being baptized was not proper, and that you should actually agree to your salvation. And so one of their biggest key difference is that, they started making it where you would have visions or you feel the presence of God around you, and it would convert you to Christianity. You would feel the pull of Christ and accept him as your savior, and then you would be baptized by your church leader or your priest, minister. So that was the key difference there with the Baptist Church, which I find most intriguing. And they were very tactile. Their pull to people, it's the visual effect, the full immersion in water for baptism, but it wasn't just one person baptized, especially since they weren't doing babies, but it's, groups of people baptized together and feeling Christ through their body, and the visions of, all the visions are so different, everything we've read the past couple weeks, but just the feeling of God's presence, the feeling of Jesus, the witnessing or feeling like they've witnessed it's very emotional. It pulls at the heartstrings. It pulls at all of the emotions that people were feeling coming over to America from their homeland. And I think that was part of their biggest draw to converting people to Christianity, and following the Baptist Church, was just that tactile laying of hands on the music, that whole full experience. Very different from some of the other religions, or I shouldn't say religions, denominations, and their practices at the time. I think also, too, the Baptist Church did a very, very big pull in acceptance of everybody. They're one of the first denominations that didn't care if you were a man or a woman. They didn't care if you were black or white. And so moving farther south, there's a lot of slave trade going on, and it didn't hinder them from progressing their church forward. It didn't matter that you were black, you could be in their congregation. It didn't matter if you were a woman, you could be in their congregation. And they were actually one of the first denominations to push to abolish slavery. And being in the South, that's a big deal. I live in Mississippi. We were one of the last states to desegregate, but the Baptist Church is probably one of the biggest churches still in the South. And so to be such a strong part of the South and still push to desegregate, I think, is also a really key part that's intriguing about the Baptist Church. But I think those are basically my two reasons why I chose the Baptist Church, is just because they're that tactile, get the full feeling of Christ, and then they're getting your salvation completely different. Baptism, you've got to accept Christ. It's not a given birthright. You have to commit, verbally commit, not just my parents said, which I think is really, really something different. And then their push for or anti-slavery, and just full acceptance of everybody. I mean, if you accept God and Jesus Christ as your Savior, then you can be a Baptist, and we don't care what you look like. We don't care what your profession is. And I think that really says a lot about the church and the Baptist church. And so that's why I think the Baptist church was definitely a strong player in the United States, but definitely the South and the West, because like I said previously, they were one of the largest denominations in the area, and they pretty much thrived the farther south they moved. So thank you.